Good evening, everybody. Capital City RIA. Happy Tuesday with you. This is Tuesdays with Tammy. And of course, this is Tammy. Hey, everybody. How are you? I'm so excited to be here tonight. We have a really fun um, evening planned. This is a live interview with a very special lady. And if everybody could say hi to Miss Debbie Lamb, who is joining us this evening. So for those of you that are already on the call, if you would take a moment down in the chat box and just type in, hey Tammy, hey Debbie, hey Olga, we're here. Let us know that you guys are out there. Um, Whatever it is that you'd like to say, just type something into the chat box. Hey Seth, so glad that you're here with us this evening. Hey, John, you made it. What a day we had in Baltimore, huh? Hey, Steven, you're here. Yay! Hey, everybody. Cliff, awesome. Look, everybody's checking in. Haley Washington, love it. This is awesome. I'm looking forward to tonight, too. So, um, for those of you that are already on the call, thank you so very much for being here. And I'm really excited about Tuesdays with Tammy. We are continuing to grow. In fact, we're busting at the seams. And I couldn't do this without my incredible team. But there's one person in particular that I want to acknowledge tonight, and that is the very special Olga Fomenko. Olga, we could not do this without you. You are the power behind everything that we do, and I so appreciate you for the hard work and the dedication and the commitment to us and to Capital City RIA. So thank you for making this happen. So
Thank
appreciate it.
you. And I'm gonna go back hiding. You guys have an amazing evening.
All right. But you're going to be watching the questions, right, Olga, and alerting me on my cell phone to any questions that come in. I've got my cell phone sitting right here beside me on silent. So, Olga, can you just please make sure if any questions come in that you will notify me?
Yes, ma'am.
Awesome. Okay, so this live webinar, Tuesdays with Tammy, is being recorded for everyone. So for those of you that are maybe on the call with us but aren't officially here, we are going to record this, and for those that maybe couldn't join us, we'll be able to get this sent back out. And so because this is a live interview, just for those of you that have joined us, if at any time you have a question, please feel free to type it into the chat box on your webinar portal, and Olga will be monitoring those and will stop Debbie and I so that we can get those questions answered in live time. So this evening, as I always share, really want you to be present and here in the moment with us. So if you could take a moment and just silence your phones also, just like I did, to make sure that there aren't any distractions going on so you can be totally present. I don't want you to miss out on something really exciting that Debbie and I are going to share with you. So tonight's Tuesdays with Tammy is the whole focus of August has been buying your first multi-unit apartment building. And the photo that you see here is Debbie, Miss Debbie Lamb. And I'm going to be introducing her in just a minute and letting her tell you guys a little bit about herself. But I would like to tell you a little bit about her, about what I know. And what I know is that a year ago, Debbie and I started this journey in Inner Circle. And, you know, Debbie was always and still is a lot of fun. She was a little bit more quiet and reserved, but I knew she was always taking all of the information in. And little did I know that she was a powerhouse making things go on behind the scenes. She was out there on the street, you know, analyzing, taking all the knowledge and the information and implementing and doing all of the really amazing things that she was learning in our 2-day intensives, and with the analyzing and everything that we were doing. And then one day I got the phone call, and she said, "Hey, Tammy," and I said, "Oh, Debbie," and she said, "I've got a portfolio of multi-units, and I really am interested, and I want you to, go take a look." So we set up an opportunity. I think, Debbie, we took probably a whole day or a half a day, and we went to Baltimore, and the gentleman had, I believe, 4 multi-unit properties in the same geographic area. We looked at all 4 of them. There were 2 that were contenders. Debbie actually submitted letters of intents on those, and then at the end of the day came back and decided on one that she felt was very important to her to acquire. We're going to talk about why she chose this one, even after we went through inspections and so on, even after we went back a second time to a couple of the others, and why it is that she decided, to move the way that she did with this first apartment building. So that was a very, very exciting day there on the front steps of 203 North Carey Street. So as you can see, the photo of Debbie here is actually at settlement with the seller, and that was another really, really happy day. So Debbie, welcome to Tuesdays with Tammy. Thank you so much for agreeing to be here. It's an honor to acknowledge and celebrate you and what you've accomplished. I'm so proud of you. We've talked about this is the beginning. This is just the wind beneath your wings, and you're out there looking at other properties and tying other things up. So thank you so much for being here. And if you could take just a few minutes and tell everybody, who are you? How did you get started in real estate? And why did you come to the event that we did a year ago? Why apartment buildings? Why multi-unit? Why Baltimore? I know you are still working full-time. In fact, you just took on a new job. So if you wouldn't mind just sharing a little bit about who you are and what you do and why. Why?
Okay, well, thank you for that great introduction. I'll start from the beginning. So I've been doing real estate now for about 6 years. I had started investing and done a couple of flips, took a little break for a while, and then I met Tammy. I actually received a meetup. I go online, and I had attended a lot of the meetups, but Tammy caught my attention, and basically really from the first meeting that we went to, I was very interested in how she was able to invest in the multi-units. And multi-units doesn't mean just apartment buildings, it's mobile homes, and then she was also discussing about assisted living, so that kind of caught my attention, so to speak. So that's why I came to this group, so to speak. Then when we also proceeded, as Tammy was saying, the sessions that we had with everyone where we went through the analysis and also did the visit to her assisted living home. It just broadened my interest in how can I do this, okay? It's flipping properties is one thing, doing a buy and hold for a single family, that's, like I said, another thing, but being able to do multi-units where you still can have cash flow even if you have a tenant that departs, okay? That, again, was what really piqued my interest because in doing single family homes where I have buy and holds, I had, in some cases, property that would sit for a while before I had an opportunity to put another tenant in there. And then had some properties where I found out I was doing a little bit of multi-unit investing, is where I also had a property that we put students in. So we were basically renting out the rooms in the house. So that was also allowing me to generate some income if I did lose a tenant, so to speak. Okay. What else did you want me to tell you? So
What kind of work do you do?
Work that I do. Okay. So my government title is project manager or program manager. So what I basically do is manage software development efforts for government agencies. I work with multiple agencies from VA. Right now I'm on a DoD contract. So I guess you could say my game plan in doing these investments is because I know jobs and contracts, they come and go. And I wanted to ensure that when the job or the contract ends, that I still have some type of income coming in. Okay. So that is again another primary reason why I do investing. Okay.
So Debbie, I know, and I always laugh and joke, you know, that's the EIEIO, you know, work that you guys all do, all you IT, amazing people who are here in the DC area. And what I have experienced, and I know this to be true because I've seen it happen to friends, is, in fact, it's happened to, I think, one, maybe two of our inner circle members just in the last year, where they are on a government contract and they're making great pay, but then there could be a change in the administration, there could be a change in the budget, and you get a phone call saying don't bother coming into work because the budget's been cut, your position's been eliminated, and you're sitting there wondering what just happened, you know, what do I do? And I know for one inner circle member in particular, you know, he's in his upper 50s and maybe even his early 60s, and to be in that position after you've dedicated and committed that many years of your life that's pretty devastating. And knowing that, you know, this one apartment building certainly isn't going to replace what you make now, but you're well on your way to having the knowledge and the resources and the skills excuse me, to duplicate this, to scale this, and to, if you wanted to purchase, you know, 3 and 4 and 5 units and do 3 or 4 or 5 of them a year for the next 4 or 5 years, you could do that and be set with a fantastic portfolio. If you wanted to acquire a 20 unit or a 200 unit, everything that we've been learning and are still learning, you could do that also. And that's the beauty of this, is, you know, that, as they say, that first one is always the hardest one. So, you know, you still work full time and you still have that full-time job. And I know last night you sent us a photo of what looked like 80 acres of land that you were mowing on a zero turn. And so you're out there, you know, from sun up to sundown and doing what you got to do and committed to making things happen. And I know you and I have talked a lot about your story and your history, and you've got the DC property, and, you know, we're dealing with that market and all of the niches and nuances that come with Washington, DC, and housing. And, you know, it's such an honor to be on this journey with you. And the other really cool thing is this chick rides a bike. She rides a motorcycle, and she's my kind of girl. So, you know, we not only take this journey together, but we become friends, and we really do have a lot of fun together. So I want to get into the story of 203 North Carey Street. So are you ready, Deb?
I'm ready.
All right, let's go.
Okay, so like Tammy said, in joining the inner circle, it really helped me keep motivated as I took in all of the information. What Tammy didn't know was in the evenings I was just coming home and just doing searches for any type of multi-units. I had basically refined my criteria where I wanted, for my first one, I wanted something that was turnkey where the tenants were already in it. So that's primarily what I was looking for. And it just so happened that I believe I was on one of the sites, I'm not sure if it was the MRIS site or not, but it was one of the sites where I saw actually 2 units listed. So I contacted the realtor so we have a chance to go see it. And in talking to the realtor, she was actually just returning back from North Carolina and was coming back into doing selling homes again. So she this was like her first listing after returning. So after talking to her, I immediately got on the phone with Tammy and said, Tammy, can you take a call? The realtor has some questions, and I'd like for you to be involved. And Tammy got on the phone and kind of blew my mind. She answered all the realtor's questions. We ended up developing a very good relationship with the realtor. The realtor disclosed at that time, well, he has more than just the 2 units you saw listed. He has a whole portfolio. So, and that some of these properties, weren't even on MLS as of yet. So that's how we actually established our communications with the realtor. And from there we went ahead, scheduled the appointment to go see the 2 that were listed, which were at that time, they're on the same block. He actually had another one that was less than half a block, actually just on the next block up. We walked to that one, saw that one, then we drove down the street, maybe about 3 blocks, and saw another one, and then also went over to 203 North Cary to see this one. And
Now,
again,
Deb,
it was the one.
Deb, if I remember, when we got to that first property and the agent met us there, even though she knew the seller, because remember, they were professors together at the college.
Right.
But
she'd never been in.
The agent had never even been in any of these 4 apartment buildings that we went into, but she was getting the listing on them. Is that right?
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. So this agent was seeing these 4-unit properties. So there was a 4-unit, a 4-unit, a 3-unit, and a 4-unit, I think.
Right.
And I mean, she was seeing them just like we were for the first time. And I'm not here to pass judgment, but I do want to say that these were less than desirable, 2 worse than the others in terms of how they had been managed. But the seller was incredibly proud of how well these properties had served him and had served his families, and he had them for 40 years. They had put his children through school and college, and they helped teach his son about owning apartments also. And I thought that was really powerful, despite my being upset with the lack of care and maintenance, and that people were actually living in the homes. And I just thought that was really amazing that someone with 40 years of experience was sharing with Debbie and I how just these four, although we learned he had a much larger portfolio, but just these 4 had served his entire family. And that right there was such a powerful moment. I know to me, I don't know if it was to you, Debbie, that, it doesn't take much. And after 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years of owning that same multi-unit, that's wealth. That's where the real wealth is created. That first year, you're just getting your feet wet. You're learning to take over property management, doing maintenance, doing repairs, dealing with deferred maintenance, dealing with tenant turnover. You don't really realize that real strong cash flow, for a couple of years. But guys, this is the real world, and I'm not going to sugarcoat. Most of you want that instant gratification, and you want it right now, and you want to see that instant cash flow right this second. and you're not willing to wait to allow that wealth, to be created. So we went in and we saw all 4 apartments, and Debbie and I we're elbowing each other and going, oh my God, did you see that? And oh my God, what do you think about this one? And what do you think? Well, the last one that we went to see was the one that you're looking at on the screen. And this one, he did not even tell us about until the very end. Right, Deb?
That is correct.
Right. So when we got here, and I'm going to let you take over, Deb. When we got here, you and I both looked at each other, and we walked in, and what did you see?
Well, let me put it this way. This particular property, I can say, was better maintained than the others. In addition, the tenants that are there, not to say that the other tenants didn't show this, but the tenants that were there, there was a lot of pride of ownership. You had a couple of the tenants that had been there for a while, and you could see that they'd been there for a while, and they honestly weren't going anyplace. And so, yeah, so that's what impressed me the most. I do want to mention one thing that Tammy had mentioned to us in our inner circle meetings is when you do come in contact with your realtors or whoever you're coming in contact with in regards to your portfolio, if you're looking at the properties, make sure you find something to connect with them on. And that's what I learned from Tammy, because like she said, I am kind of on the reserved end. Yes, I'll come up and say hello and all that, but she really showed me how to establish a rapport with the realtors so that you can make them feel comfortable where they will share information with you. Because had we not been able to do that, I don't think we would have just seen maybe the 2 properties and that was it. And so, yeah. So on this particular property on 203 North Cary, like I said, it was the pride of ownership. And then Tammy told me, not far down the street was her property, which I wasn't aware of. Because I'm just familiarizing, at that time, I was just familiarizing myself with the Baltimore area. So that's what also kind of said, okay, and then where this property is located, right across the street, is a park. You got condo units and so forth. So to me, again, it goes back to what Tammy was saying, find an area that's stable, find an area that's up and coming. And this area is particularly one of the areas that I believe is up and coming. Because as I shared with Tammy not too long ago, approximately 4 blocks from this property, they are actually building a new condo community that, again, is going to be more for the millennials. Okay, they're going to try to get everything that you could actually want, the coffee shops, your, as I call it, your apartment living, make it comfortable for the millennials that are moving into the area.
Yeah. So. Debbie, we have a couple questions, and Cliff said you stated that the units are in Baltimore. Where are you located? Cliff, we are all over Baltimore, Baltimore City, and in Baltimore County. I don't know if I can read the rest of the question. Something that it's hard to manage property that's far away. You know, one thing that we always talk about is that real estate is very local, and so obviously if you're not from the Maryland, D.C., Virginia, Baltimore area, yes, managing a 3-unit from a really, really far distance might be challenging. This is our local market, and one of the things that I insist on, at least for the first 12 months, Cliff, is that anybody that works with us in Inner Circle is that they must agree to be their own property manager for the first 12 months so that they can understand what it takes to be a property manager, so that they understand when they go to hire a property manager what it is that they want in that property manager, and it's about that experience. So depending on what your local market is, there are property managers there, but I highly recommend for that first 12 months, if it's at all possible, that you actually manage that 12 to 18 month takeover, and I can assure you, you will be really grateful that you did. Your residents will be really grateful that you did. I have stood in landlord-tenant court where a tenant has come up to the left side of the table, the agent came up to the right side of the table, the owner came up to the right side of the table. The tenant didn't even know who was who, and I understand that gatekeeper, but I was sitting in the pew, and I saw it from a whole different perspective. And so I try to put myself in the resident's shoes, and if I was in that position and I couldn't get a hold of someone or know who the people were, I would have an issue with that. And so I let my guard down about having this gatekeeper where the tenants don't know who you are. I absolutely don't believe in that. My tenants have never disrespected me in terms of having my cell phone, because we teach them how to respect us. So just like here, these residents knew this building was for sale, and so the very first times they met Debbie and I, you know, they were very friendly. The gentleman and his wife on the first floor had been there, what, Debbie, 28, 29 years they've been there. And the ladies up on the third floor had been there for many years. So, of course, you can imagine their immediate fear, right, is how much is my rent going to go up? Are you going to evict me? And Debbie was able immediately, day one, to sit down with them in their home and find out what they needed, find out what they wanted, find out what hadn't been taken care of, to assure them that, you know, things were not going to be changing, if anything, for the better. So I feel very, very, very strongly about you being your own property manager for at least the first 12 months. And I really hope, Cliff, that answered your question. Baldwin, you said you cannot hear anything. That's probably going to be on your end with your headphones. I don't know if you called in via your cell phone with the audio. You may want to check that. But I do believe that everybody can hear just fine, because we've got the questions coming in. Cliff, so you're in Alexandria, Virginia. That's not far. I mean, you know, we do what we got to do. Just to give you an example, today I got up at 3. I left Ocean City, Maryland. I drove to Rockville, Maryland to a meeting. I drove to Baltimore to do an on-site inspection. I then went to a bank in Baltimore with an Inner Circle member where we sat down and met with the bank, and then I drove 2.5 hours back to the Eastern Shore, where I'm at right now doing this webinar. So, you know, being an investor that is committed to creating wealth means that you are committed to doing whatever it is that you got to do. Having to go from Alexandria to Baltimore, yeah, I mean, it may be a little bit of an inconvenience, but to create wealth, you know, we're willing to drive and sit in a little bit of traffic to create that wealth. And, you know, that's something maybe that you have to ask yourself. But I know my Inner Circle is definitely willing to do what it takes, and the success is, you know, what we have here. So funding. Andy Marcia is talking about funding, and so we're going to get to that question in just a little bit. But hold on one second, everybody.
Okay, while Tammy's away, I just want to mention one other thing about, in regards to doing your own property management. Not only do you get a chance to develop a relationship with the tenants, but also you get to know what's going on with your building. If you were to have a property management company, they may tell you this item needs to be fixed, and in reality, it may not need to be fixed. And they may indicate, okay, this tenant called in about this, and just for a prime example, the person that we purchased this particular unit from, he had a property management company. The work they were doing, I could find a 2-year-old who would do better work. Okay, so that's why you probably should manage it. And like I said, I do concur with what you're saying. Manage it for yourself for the first year, so you get get to know the building in addition to getting to know the tenants. Because the property management company that, I mean, you're paying for a service, and not all property management companies are going to deliver the service in a quality manner. I'll put it that way. Tammy, we can't hear you, Tammy. Can't hear you. Uh-oh. Is your plug in?
Can you hear me now?
There we go. Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Well, as I said, we are live, and my two little miniature schnauzers, I don't know if any of you heard them, but they were going crazy. So I had to go shut them down. I apologize for that. But just like Debbie was saying, you know, Debbie, what we learned about that is it's very subjective, right? Because the owner of these properties, he was happy with the property management company that he had. And clearly, it was not anywhere near the standard of what, you know, you and I were willing to accept. But to him, he was okay with it, you know. So the thing that was really interesting here at this property is, as I said, the seller did not even mention that this was in play. And I know the only reason he brought this up is because of the relationship and the rapport that we built with him and the agent and the agent's assistant while we were with him. But the thing that I really want to share with everyone, because I have seen this a lot, I used to be a realtor, and at the end of viewing this property, literally right out in the very street where we were parked, the agent pulled out paperwork. And she said, "Here, I need you to sign this," and just handed it right to Debbie. And Debbie looked at it, and I said, "No, absolutely not." I said, "I used to be a realtor. I love realtors. I respect that you want to make sure that you are able to procure your real estate commission on these properties if and only if she buys these properties. But we are not interested in locking into a 6-month or 1-year buyer agency agreement, because that would mean that Debbie would be locked in to that realtor for the next 6 months to a year. I mean, she could always get out of it in writing, but that realtor was just doing her job. And she did get quite feisty with us, especially me, because we refused to sign that buyer agency agreement. But within a few minutes of sharing with her that we were not there to take her commission, that we absolutely wanted to work with her, not once but long term, and that we would make sure that she would absolutely get her commission. Is there anything about that, Deb, that you want to share, how that made you feel to have those papers thrown at you? Do you remember that?
Yeah, I kind of looked at him, and then I looked at Tammy. So, I said, "Tammy, she wants me to sign this. I don't want to do this."
Yeah.
So then Tammy just stepped in, and I'm very grateful for Tammy being there to hold my hand through this whole process, because it's not just, that's not the first time that I didn't know exactly what to do or what the next step was, especially when I start talking about the analysis of the properties and all the information that you need to have. That's another area where Tammy just sat down with me and just showed me what I needed to look for and what information we needed to actually obtain. But yeah, it was kind of like, when she gave me that information, it was like, okay. What impressed me the most was that Tammy said, "Okay, this is what we're going to do," and we actually wrote it down on, I think, yellow sheet or a legal size piece of paper right then and there, and we all took pictures of it with our phones to make sure that everybody had a good understanding of what the expectation was. So yeah.
Yeah. And what has happened since there, Deb? I mean, I have goosebumps right now just thinking about it, because it's the typical reaction of how a realtor is taught. And having been a realtor,
Mm-hmm.
you can't pass judgment against them because it's what they're taught, right? But when you take that facade away and realize that behind the realtor there's a human being, and that human being just wants to make sure that they're getting paid, and when you assure them that you want them to be a part of the journey with you, but you just don't want to get locked into legal documents. I mean, seriously, how would we feel if someone literally just threw these legal documents at us and we don't even know who they are, and they're like, here, sign. You need to sign this.
Exactly.
Unfortunately, because it's a realtor, Debbie, a lot of people do that. And then I know for a fact, because I'm dealing with a couple situations right now where they signed agency agreements and didn't realize in signing those agency agreements what it actually meant. So once we got through that, then we set up the inspections on the 2 properties that you did want to purchase. So do you want to talk about the inspections?
Yeah, so Tammy referred a home inspector for me. So the day that we went out there, we met him. We went through the first property, and I'll go ahead and say it was on Edmondson Avenue. So we went through that property. There were some issues with that property. We went over to this one on North Cary. He actually did the inspection again on that one, and he kind of talked to me on the side and said, "This is the better one out of the 2." So, because there was a lot of deferred maintenance that was going to be needed. Now, Tammy and I went in. I mean, when we did, I can say we actually went with the inspector. Now, I'm not going up on the roof, so I didn't go up there. But we went down in the basement area where they keep the water heaters and so forth. And any questions that I had, I would point out things and say, well, what does this mean? I'm looking at, for example, the joists and so forth. He was very good at explaining to me what it's supposed to be like, if it was deferred maintenance, if it needed any maintenance at all. So that is where, again, I'm very appreciative for the referral. He was great, very, very good person to deal with. When I received the reports, I mean, the pictures that he took, the explanations of what should be done, it provided me with basically like a bullet list where I could say, for this property, this is what I need to tackle first, and this is priority 1, and this is priority 2. So that's what I learned from the inspections.
We got to be with John Martin today. He did another amazing inspection, and you know, the one thing I want to bring up that still resonates with me today, and it still bothers me to this day, and that was the single mom with the little guy that had the learning disabilities, that was real tiny. Remember him, Deb, on the first floor in that other apartment building?
Mm-hmm.
And it was all they could afford. And I would never have allowed one of my residents to live in an apartment that was in that shape. To me, it should have been condemned. But her apartment was pretty tidy and pretty clean, and she was a real happy single mom. And this little guy was brilliant. He was real small. Yeah, I thought maybe he was 3 or 4, but he was like 9 or 10. But he was brilliant beyond his age, and he was just a happy, happy kid. And you could tell she put everything into this child. She put everything into his bedroom to make sure that no matter where they lived, even if it wasn't perfect conditions, that he had this really amazing space that was his world. And I so badly wanted to just scoop her whole entire apartment up and move them into a much nicer place. But I knew, you know, that wasn't my position. But this journey that we're on is so extraordinary. The 2 windows right to the left of the front door is a gentleman by the name of Mr. Cephas, and he was the first black fireman, Debbie, or his uncle was the first black fireman in Baltimore City.
Right, his uncle.
His uncle. When you walk into this apartment, on the first floor in 2 of the bedrooms, it is a museum, unlike anything you have ever seen. There is more Baltimore City fire memorabilia than I have ever seen. I mean, it brought tears to my eyes. He gave Debbie and I these laminated articles from the newspaper, and he's memorialized this fireman's museum in this apartment, hoping to find, I think he said 10 or 20,000 square foot for a fireman's museum. And these are just amazing people whose lives we get to change. And so the one thing I wanted to point out about this building, and I really want everybody to take note of this picture, is this does not look any different than any other normal, ordinary row home in Baltimore City or Baltimore County. You've got 3 windows wide, coming down, the front door, the marble steps. This looks just like all the other row homes that are out there that we drive by every single day not paying attention to. However, if you did not know that down in the basement were 3 water heaters, and the picture to the right is just a little bit darker, but there are 4 electric meters there, 3 for each, 1 for each apartment, and then the 4th is for public service area. If you did not know outside that this was a 3-unit apartment building, you would just think that it's your normal, ordinary, everyday single unit. But right to the right of the front door is the one giveaway, and that's 3 mailboxes. And so one of the things that I share while we are, in Baltimore, because it's so unique, is, so much opportunity is right there and you don't even know it. There's so much multi-unit opportunity that we don't even see. But yet if you stop and slow down just a little bit, or you find an area that you're really interested in and you do some public record searching, you can find these types of properties all day long. And a couple months ago I did a webinar where we showed statistics that Baltimore is the number 2 in the country behind Clayton, Georgia, for property owners, landlords, buy and hold rate of return. It's triple digit. I mean, there is no city where you are going to buy a 3-unit apartment building with tenant residents living in it that is cash flowing for $68,810.36. This is the HUD 1. We literally went to settlement on May 5th, just, 3 months ago? Almost 3 months ago. Can anybody please tell me where you can go find a 3-unit apartment building for $68,810.36? And there's a really cool little thing that makes me chuckle to this day about the price, and we're going to talk. I'm going to let Debbie explain that in just a minute, but this is where real wealth is created. Guys, we're paying this kind of money today for vehicles. You look at a brand new GMC Denali Yukon, Chevy truck, a BMW, or any nice fully loaded SUV. Guys, this is exactly what we're paying. So for the same cost of having a vehicle, which is not going to provide you with cash flow, but yet we get so caught up in having those toys and those things and those Michael Kors purses and the Gucci shoes, and we get so caught up in all of that. For that same price, you could own a multi-unit apartment building that is going to have a mortgage on it of maybe a couple $100s a month, if that. That's going to be cash flowing and will provide passive income to you for the rest of your life. So, Deb, will you talk about what the asking price was, what our contract sales price ended up being, and how in the world did you get to $68,810 and 36 cents, because I don't know how you came up with that number.
Yeah. Okay. So the contract price that it was listed for was 80,000. Okay. After doing the inspections and doing some negotiation, we got it down to the price that I wanted. I personally, I never pay asking unless there's a good reason for it. So I said, Tammy, okay, what should we offer on this? So, so Tammy taught me a little trick. She had me to write down the birthdays of some of my immediate family members, including my own, and that's why she's chuckling. So that's how we basically came up with this price. So what we did was primarily put the 6 in front, and the rest of it is a combination of, I'm going to say, my birthday and my mom's birthday. So that's why I'm looking at this and saying, okay, this, a couple of, matter of fact, 8/10 is my birthday. I just put that up there, okay? So looking at this is just ironic.
Yeah, what I do want to share, Deb, because I don't want anybody, please, I don't want you to get the idea that we're just pulling birthday numbers out of thin air and coming up with a price point, because we're not. That's not what this is. The asking price that the seller wanted was how much, Debbie?
80,000.
80,000, okay? And he was pretty firm on that 80,000. Well, after the inspection, he knew that we were going to come back with some items that needed repairs. And Debbie and I sat down, we talked about, you know, what some of those things were. We knew there was a major issue down in the basement. There was a structural joist that was going to need to be addressed. There was a bathroom issue and some flooring on the first floor. We talked about what that number would be. And if I'm not mistaken, Deb, didn't we say it was somewhere in the $67,000 or $68,000 price point, or 65 or 69? I know we were right in this $68,000 price point when we credited back the repairs, right?
Right.
Right. So one of the tricks that I learned a long time ago that an old timer shared with me, and I'd love to share it with you guys because it's really cool, is everybody always uses rounded numbers, right? So 68,000, 75,000, 100,000. And that's just what everybody else does. But if you're willing to do what everybody else does, then you're going to get what everybody else gets. So we decided that we were going to do something different, and this is how I live my life. I'm a contrarian. I do things very differently. And so I said, Deb, I said, what's your birthday? I said, write down the dates. And she said, August 10th. I said, okay, how about your mom's birthday? You know, she told me what that was. And I said, well, look, if we take these numbers, they're going to be close enough to where we're at. And if we come back with a number that is our little secret, it's your birthday, you know, that makes it kind of fun. But on top of that, as a buyer, when we take an offer back to the seller and it says 68,000, I assure you it's not a big deal. It doesn't look like much effort put into it. But when you take an offer back to a seller that is $68,810.36, that seller and that realtor are so convinced that you took hours and hours and hours to analyze to come up with such an odd number. And I have had more fun with my birth date, and as we did here on Debbie's birth date, which you can clearly see, 68,810. So August the 10th is Debbie's birthday, and that's what the price ended up being on the HUD one, and the seller accepted it. And so, you know, that made it even more fun. So we got ready for settlement, and Debbie, I want to talk a little bit about, you know, your funding. Did you pay cash for this property, like you just had, you know, $68,000 laying around? Did you have a couple $1,000s laying around? Did you have $500 laying around. What did you actually ultimately do to get the $68,810?
So initially, I was going with a hard money lender. Um, However, they were taking too long for me to get their act together, and I wasn't sure. I'm in IT, so I believe in contingency. So what I did was, because I had the funds at the time, I went ahead and paid cash for this. Okay. Um, so now, of course, I'm in the process of doing refi so that I can use the cash to continue on purchasing multi-units. But that's what I did in this case. Um, and I'm looking at the red numbers, the 21, 147, 98. Did you want me to talk about that, Tammy?
Um, so I'm sure people are saying, well, that's great, Debbie, you had cash, but what if I don't have that kind of cash? Believe me, I understand. I didn't have it either. That's a lot of money. Um, but if you know Debbie's story, then you would understand why. And, you know, Debbie had some property that was left to her. She also has worked very, very hard. She lived way below her means and understood what it meant to live way below her means. She's not someone who's caught up, because she and I have talked about this a lot. She's not someone who's caught up in the big toys and the fancy cars and all that kind of stuff. So not only did she save some money, but when her parents passed, unfortunately, the blessing that they left and the legacy they left for Debbie was a few homes that were free and clear, that over many, many years, you know, had appreciated. Debbie was able to do a refi, and so, you know, she's very blessed. But she's now carrying on her mom and dad's legacy, which is so amazing. You know how proud they are of you. And oh, I just got the goosebumps. And now she's got this 3-unit. So she's tapping into these other resources. And when we were sitting at settlement, there was something that happened that just blindsided me. I didn't know it was coming. I wasn't expecting it. I was expecting that the seller was going to walk away with a very large amount of money. He said he had owned these properties, you know, for 40 years. And I took an image of the check, but I didn't want anybody seeing me take an image of the check at the settlement table. So I was going to put it up on the screen, but it's kind of, you know, it's not a good view. But it was a Bank of America check. I don't think Debbie saw it. I pointed it out to her after the fact. But there was a Bank of America check sitting in between me and the seller on the table for $21,147. Actually, it was $21,247.98. And there was a $100 difference, which is it's really hard to see here on the bottom of the HUD-1, but it was $21,147.98. And that check was from the seller, and it was made out to the settlement company. And I stared at it, and I stared at it again, and I'm like, I couldn't say anything to Debbie because she was sitting all the way on the other side of the table, literally going through the settlement. And I said to myself, oh my gosh, this seller is bringing $21,000 to the settlement table to sell this property. And I just couldn't believe that literally this seller was paying to dispose of this property, and that shared so much about his level of motivation. But it also shared that, yes, indeed, these properties had been very good to him and his children and put them through school. But what it also shared with me, and what Debbie and I talked about, is he over-leveraged the properties. And when a market shifts, and like it did in 2007 to 2013, This is where investors get hurt. And they feel that because they have some equity sitting in this property that they're going to cash it out, do a cash out refi. They're going to use this money, do whatever they want. They're going to buy a car, take a vacation, whatever. And then when the market shifts and something happens financially, you know, they're over leveraged or they can't sell the property. But in today's market, even at $68,000 price point, I was floored and mortified that this seller brought $21,000 to the table. And he didn't even blink an eye. He literally handed that check over, and I said, Debbie, did you even see what he did? Because she was on the other side of the table. I said, did you even see that he had to bring $21,000 to the table? So I share this with you because don't ever underestimate a seller. Don't ever underestimate someone and what you think they have in terms of money, what you think they don't have, what you think their motivation is. He never disclosed to anyone that he was going to be bringing $21,000 to the table just to sell this property for $68,000. He made no money. He made no money. So I don't know, Deb, is there anything you want to share about that? Because that was a real aha moment for me when I saw that $21,000 check.
Yeah, it was for me also. I do have to say this, though. Part of what Tammy teaches is that on most of your properties, you should be able to pay them off within 3 to 5 years. And that's the same strategy I encourage everyone to use, because you don't want to be in a position where you over leverage it. And plus, you want to get, as you say, that nice little bump in the positive cash flow every month, too.
Yeah. Debbie, we have another question. Eric Thompson says that are those only grandfathered in, or can a large row home be redeveloped into a multifamily like that? So, Eric, great question. No, these are not grandfathered. This is all over Baltimore today as we speak. It's really going to depend on the price that you get the property at. If you are able to buy a property for, you know, $20,000, $40,000, and it's worth $300,000 or $400,000, or let's say $300,000, and you're going to put, you know, $175,000 full gut into it to turn it into a 3-unit, then yes, it absolutely is. Its highest and best use to redevelop. But it's very, very property specific, and this is about doing your due diligence. And this is one of the things that we talked about in Inner Circle all the time. There is no box. There is no one size fits all. Every single property is very subjective, is very unique. It has its own sets of you know, numbers. It has its own sets of deferred maintenance. It has its own set of residents. And so it's very important that you understand the importance of doing your due diligence and really truly knowing what that property is. Buying it right, Eric, is going to be absolutely critical. Because if you're buying a property, you know, for 120 or 130,000, it's worth 300, and you've got to turn around and put 170 into it. Obviously, those numbers aren't going to work. So we know as buyers, the most important thing is to buy right. So great question. But these types of properties are all over Baltimore all day long. That's why we love Baltimore so much. And, you know, think about it. If you take this size square footage and move it to DC, Debbie, let's take your property, for example, right? This is so real world. The property your mom and dad had in DC, that's a really large townhome. And what is the value there? That may be a little bit less square footage, but probably not that much. What is the value of that townhouse in DC compared to in Baltimore? What could you sell that for fixed up today?
Somewhere between $750,000 and $800,000.
So for 750, 800,000, you could buy approximately the same square footage in Baltimore or in DC, and you're probably going to get, 2,300 to 2,600 in rent. Okay, do the math. That rate of return isn't a good rate of return as a multi-unit property owner. However, for Debbie, 2,600, 2,800, or 3,000 a month, which she just got offered by by DC Housing, is a phenomenal number because she owns it free and clear now. But in Baltimore, you take that same square footage for $68,000, and you've got 3 residents paying rent, and these are below market rent. Debbie is going to have to work with them, to get their rent built back up, and she will. But right now, she's been working on building the trust and the rapport with them because they were absolutely terrified that she was just going to raise the rent or they were going to have to be evicted. So, and there's some repairs and things that she's got to get taken care of. But let's see here. Is there another question? How did you finance these, Vina? Vina, we, I don't know if you asked this question after Debbie had talked about it. She actually used cash that she had. She's getting ready to do a refi on a property in DC to pull those reserves back out, which she's been bitten by the multi-unit bug. She's now truly addicted. She shared with me and promised me she will not go into recovery. So we are out there looking for more multi-units so that we can just scale this and duplicate it over and over again. So what does it cost to be in the inner circle? I think Bruce, if you want to email us at hello, HELLO, at capitalcityreia.com. I take this very seriously. I'm active live in the trenches. This isn't another, product or big sales pitch. I'm not asking people to sit here and pull their credit cards out. I'm just sharing you what we do. This is who we are, and I would love to share with you what we do in Inner Circle and see if it's something that would make a difference in your life. So I'd love to have a one-on-one call with you because it's very important to me to know about you and what it is that you're looking to do, because this cannot be generalized. This is about you and what you want to create in your life. So if you want to give us an email, again, it's hello at capitalcityreia.com, and our team will absolutely get back to you and we'll set up a one-on-one. Let's see what else here. What exactly did you state an agent's right to represent for the buyer for this property, Marcia? Let me read that question again. What exactly did you state an agent's rights to represent for the buyer for this property? I'm not sure if I totally understand the question, Marcia. I'm going to take a stab at it based on what I think it means. When we walked out into the street, the buyer's agent literally threw documents into Debbie's hands and said, here, you need to sign these before you leave. And I knew what they were. I was a realtor for many years. But I allowed Debbie the opportunity and the space to read through them. Debbie looked over at me and I said, absolutely not. I said, first of all, nobody sat down and had the time to go over these, but Debbie's not interested in having representation for 12 months. Debbie, if and only if Debbie decides to buy 1 or 4 of these properties, she absolutely will allow you to represent her. But under no circumstances is she going to sign a buyer agency agreement just for you to have sole representation over her for the next 6 months or 12 months while she's looking for properties. And it ended up being the greatest thing that we ever did. Velma thanked us for that, because to this day, Debbie has the most profound, amazing relationship with Velma and Debbie, who is Velma's business partner, who's also a realtor. I now work with Debbie. Debbie sends me listings to be able to share with my other inner circle students. And they are two absolutely amazing women, and they know that we honored our word. They received their commission. Everything was put in writing. It was represented in the purchase and sales contract. You know, and as long as everything is documented in a purchase and sales contract, then it is totally legal. We made sure that they got their agreement. And, you know, if a broker demands that you have to sign a buyer agency agreement, then you may want to go find another brokerage. And this is where I'm a contrarian. You may agree with me, you may not. It's okay. I respect that. But having been a realtor and now being an investor, I can assure you when documents are put into my hands and someone says, here, you must sign these, I'm not going to sign them unless I've had an opportunity. And we ultimately made sure we took care of those girls. So, Debbie, tell everybody a little bit about Velma and Debbie today and how awesome it's been working with them and how much they've helped you.
So, as Tammy mentioned, Velma is a professor at Coppin State. So she and I have developed a very good relationship to the point where I've actually been over to her house now. I've met her son. And she does provide a lot of information as far as listings and so forth to me. Debbie is a registered nurse, I think, by profession, who is also connected with Velma. Basically, Velma is like what I call like the senior realtor, and Debbie is like the junior realtor who is learning all the ins and outs of how to do the business. And Debbie, like I said, is a little go-getter. She has been sending me also listings. Matter of fact, a couple of weeks ago, she sent me listings, and we went and looked at about 4 or 5 different properties, of which 2 I did go ahead and purchase. That's part Tammy may not know. So, but
How
the
many?
relationship we've developed, 2. So I'll tell you about those later. But since we have developed that relationship with both of them, you know, I can call Debbie basically anytime, as she says, anytime, night or day. It doesn't matter. To talk to her if I find something and have questions about anything. She's there to ask me, you know, answer those questions. I've asked her in certain areas, again, that may not be too familiar with. I asked her, well, can you provide some rental comps for me just to verify what I found online? And she is very proactive in getting me the information. Like I said, usually with her, if I ask her a question, she's got an answer for me that evening.
Well,
so that's
Debbie,
what I have very much enjoyed.
Hey, remember that I guess I reached out to her for something. I don't even remember what it was, to Debbie. I was asking her a question, and she's a nurse, and she's so giving. You know, she's so nurturing and giving. And I said, hey, I said, are those other properties still for sale? And she goes, actually, I think they are. Let me check. Well, then she was telling me about these other properties, and I'm not acquiring, you know, right now. I called Debbie, and I said, Debbie, I just talked to Debbie, and I think there's more properties coming on the market. So it was fun because Debbie and I literally like team tagged her, and Debbie called her back and was trying to find out about all those. So, you know, we were honest, and we made sure that no matter what, we took care of those agents, and they worked so hard for Debbie. They deserved to receive that commission, and they did. And we would do it all over again, wouldn't we, Deb?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, we would do it all
like
over.
I said before, Tammy has taught me a lot in regards to communication. She's taught me a lot in regards to being able to how to analyze a property, a lot on being able to identify what potential maintenance issues may be on a property. She's assisted with providing referrals where I didn't have any, so she's been kind of like my navigator through this whole process.
Oh, thank you, Deb. You you know, I've been there pushing, probing, and just sharing experience, but it was you. You know, you're the one that took action. You're the one that stepped out and faced your fears. You were the one when I said, don't question it, just do it. You know, trust. Let's just get this done. And look at where you are. I mean, we know where we're going. We know that there's much more bigger multi-units in the horizon, and you know, we're not in a hurry. That you got to get that DC property taken care of. You got to get some of these little deferred maintenance items taken care of at Cary. You've got to make sure that these residents are really solid and that they're in good shape, you know, and you're out there looking at some others, and that next amazing multi-unit will come out there. But you're the one that made this happen, Deb, and the best is yet to come. So, you know, that is what's exciting, and I love being able to be a part of their lives, and you know, them being a part of my life. And you know, now Debbie and I are talking about planning a bike trip. You know, some of you may or may not know, my husband and I ride a Harley, so I love being out on the road. That's where I get away, down by the beach. And now we're gonna get a weekend and go out on the bikes and you know, just have fun. But life is short, and I want to be able to help as many people as I can realize that, you know, you don't have to think that you can't do an apartment building or that you can't have a multi-unit, and that's what I thought. And I laid in bed one night, and I literally, I've shared this story, but it's the truth, that I said, wait a minute, multi is more than one. You know, that's a duplex. What is wrong with owning a duplex? What is wrong with owning a triplex? Does that mean I'm less than, you know, the other guys who have all these big, huge properties? And I knew who I was because I was grounded, and I said, it doesn't matter what wealth looks like. It doesn't matter where wealth is. It doesn't matter how I create it. What matters is that I do it, and that I take the time in my youth to create this foundation. And if all I can do are small multi-units, but I'm still creating wealth, then that's what I'm going to do. And that's what we've mastered. And that's what I love, is that this is real and it is achievable. But most of the big gurus out there aren't willing to talk about the little $68,000 3-unit apartment buildings because they're not the big, huge checks. I don't care. I don't give a crap about the big, huge checks. I care about Debbie Lamb. I care about John Dewey. I care about Christina Thompson. I care about Barbara. I care about Jonathan. I care about all my guys and all my gals and everybody that I work with. I care about you guys being able to create true financial freedom so that you have the wealth to do the things that you want to do in life. And we got a lot more celebrating to do, Miss Debbie, do we not?
You got it.
And there she is, signing that HUD-1. It was so special that day to just watch her put her signature there on that piece of paper. That's what made it really real. And it was really cool. While we were sitting there, the seller answered a phone call, and he said, I can't talk right now. I can't talk right now. Can I call you back? And he put the phone down, and it rang again. And he goes, I think he said his name was Bob. He's like, Bob. He goes, oh, Debbie, Tammy, it's the property manager. Somebody's there to pay rent. Debbie, what do you want me to do with the rent? So literally, while Debbie is signing the HUD-1, the seller is taking a call from the property manager saying, Debbie, what do you want me to do with this rent check? And I looked at her, and she smiled so big, and in my mind I'm thinking, what an amazing problem to have, right? So she ended up going over to the property manager's office, right, Deb?
Yes, I did, and that was a complete surprise to me. I was not expecting that. So we went over there and we picked up, I mean, to have a closing and being able to pick up the first month's check, rental check, that to me on the same day, no, that was too much. Right?
That was way cool. And then, you know, we talked about the takeover, what type of a letter, you know, Debbie learned how important it is to take the time to go personally visit each resident, and she did, you know, and she sat down with them and she said, look, if there were two things that could be fixed or that are important to you, what would they be? And it'll blow your mind how simple. One, I think one wanted a new light fixture and a ceiling fan or something, and one wanted her bedroom walls painted. I mean, guys, it was so small what these people wanted just to be happy. And if we give them that little bit that they ask for, that we build that trust, we build that rapport, they know that we care about them, and they're going to be there for a lifetime. And so what's the experience been like for you, Deb, in the last 3 months? What have you had to deal with? What's it been like for the first 90 days?
So for the first 90 days, there have been some issues in regards where the tenants have contacted me because, like Tammy said, I did give them a letter and I set up a phone number where they could contact me. But the issue, I mean, it's been minor issues such as the toilet got clogged. Well, we just went over there, plunged it, and unclogged the toilet. So it hasn't been anything major. Again, every time I go over there, the tenants are very waiting to see me, basically, because, and I say this on a good note, because they want to talk to me. So they want to talk to me and share, like, for example, what they've been doing, especially Mr. Cephas, what's going on. You know, they're always happy. I'm not going to say happy, but happy in a good way to see me. Okay, because they know, like Tammy mentioned, that we indicated when we came on board that things were going to change, that the prior management company, you know, they'd call them and they may or may not show up. They know that they have a direct connection to me, and that if they ask for something, they know that it's going to be taken care of.
Yep, exactly. I just had one quick question. I had somebody, it says their name is first last, so I'm not sure who that is. I don't believe that's a real name, but they actually asked, who is Debbie? And so my response was, Debbie is speaking right now. So this is really, really exciting. So Debbie, if you had to do this all over again, would you, when you look back over the last year, would you have thought that a year ago you'd be where you are now, and would you do it all over again, or would you do anything differently?
So I'm going to speak from the heart here. So honestly, had I not attended Tammy's sessions, to which I was introduced to multi-units, I would not be here today. I would not be here today. I would not have purchased a multi-unit. I would have probably still gone along the lines, okay, I have 2 or 3 properties and be satisfied with that. But because I did go to the meetup, and because I did attend and become an Inner Circle member, that has motivated me. Like she said, I'm hooked now. I know I was a bit hesitant, but with Tammy's assistance, I've been able to just go for it. And now it's like she said, I want to do more. So
it is an addiction.
So it is very worthwhile.
Yeah. So because of that, so many have asked if I would be willing to do it again. And so this weekend, literally August 5th and 6th, 8:30 to 6:30, we're going to be doing a 2-day multi-unit live immersion here in the Maryland, D.C., Baltimore area. Day 1 is at the Greenbelt Marriott. And that's really just learning about more in depth about what we do, how we analyze, how we figure out what is a good deal, what is a not good deal, where we go, you know, to look for these types of opportunities. Day 2, I've rented a beautiful luxury charter bus for $55, and we will be boarding that bus promptly very early in the morning. And I will be taking everybody to Baltimore to see a very large 18-unit, to see a residential assisted living, and then a smaller 2 to 4 multi-unit, and immerse you into actually touching it, seeing it, and feeling it, because I know that's how I learned We can all sit in seminars and webinars and hotels and all of that, and it's great. There's a place and a purpose for that, but I want to be in the field. It's where I learn the most, and I want to be able to get you out into the field. So this weekend, that is exactly what we're doing. I think Olga said we literally only had 20 seats left I think she checked as of 7:30 tonight, and that's because of how many seats we have on the bus. I know VIP has been totally sold out. There's a big special networking happy hour on Saturday night. I know that's sold out. And if you go online right now, it's $97 to register for the 2-day workshop. And Olga's texting me right now going, Tammy, are you crazy? Are you out of your mind? Guys, it's not about the money. Yes, we're providing lunch. Yes, we're providing the VIP. I want you to learn how to create wealth. I want you to learn how to create freedom. So Olga promised, Olga, if you, that message that I just texted you, if you would put that link up in the chat box right now, Olga's going to type up a link in the chat box right now. And literally for the first 20 people tonight that get registered, it's $57. These are the last 20 seats. I have to give a full head count tomorrow night at 5:00 p.m. To my bus driver and bus company out of Northern Virginia. So this is, you know, these are the last seats, and I'd love for you guys to be able to be a part of it. So Olga, I do not see the link. Hello.
It's supposed to go out in the chat. Did you guys get it?
Oh, there it is. Okay, it's under the chat. Yep. I see it. I see it. All right. So let me.
That they can see it.
Yep, it's in the chat box. Thank you, Olga, for putting this up for me, because I know I literally just did this to you at the last minute. So it's HTTP, whatever that thing is, // B as in boy, I as in ice cream, T as in Tom, L as in Larry, Y as in yellow, / special 57. The number 57. It's in the chat box. Literally, there are 20 seats left. That is for the bus. Debbie, this journey has only just begun. John, I know you're on the call. Thank you for an amazing day tonight, or amazing day today, getting that inspection done. What you and I shared with the lenders today, you know, you and I talked about it. It was magical. And we'll talk about that this weekend. So this journey, guys, is all about you. You've made the most profound difference in my life. You'll never know what you mean to me. And thank you, Debbie, for creating the wealth in your life, for being here tonight to help me make a difference. And here's to you, girl. Let's go get the next one. All right, everybody. Thank you so much. And we'll talk to you soon. Debbie and I will see you this weekend, right?
Yes, you will.
Yay! You're going to come over Saturday, right?
If it's not raining, I'll be on the motorcycle. Yeah.
Huh?
I said if it's not raining, I'll be on the motorcycle.
Woohoo! Yay! Awesome. Well, we will see Debbie on Saturday. She's actually going to stop in just to say hi to everybody. But have a great night. I hope to see you guys this weekend. Those last 20 seats I know are going to go very quick. So this is my way of saying thank you. If you have any other questions, feel free to reach out to us. Hello@Capital City REIA, and we will promptly get back to you. And as soon as my team is able to get this video up, they will be forwarding that out to everybody as well. Take care, guys. Happy Tuesday night, and we will talk to you soon. Bye-bye.